The Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Reaper Apparel Company. Reaper Apparel offers a casual line of superb fit, finish, and comfort. We design for those who refuse to die slowly and choose to live untamed. For those who aren't afraid to face the dark, for the ones that thrive in it, and for those who can appreciate life through a grim lens. That's Reaper Apparel Company. Go to the link in the description of this episode, use the promo code Mike Bono, and get 10% off. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Tactical Brotherhood, all American-made apparel, which helps support the Second Amendment. You can also find all this in the description of this episode with the link Tactical Brotherhood. Part of every proceed does go to helping veterans. It is a very good cause. All American-made products made right here in Minnesota. Go and check them out. Use the promo code PATRIOT15 to get 15% off your purchase. The Ride Home Rants podcast wants to thank you for listening and let everybody know that we do offer monthly subscriptions to help support the show in other ways other than listening and downloading each episode. What you will get with each subscription is you will get bonus episodes that aren't released to everybody. You will also have a chance to ask me anything each and every month where I will put out a special episode just to answer your questions. You will also get more exclusive content that is not released to everybody. To subscribe to the show, go and click on the link in the description of this episode, and I look forward to your added support and to help us keep this show going. The Ride Home Rants podcast is also brought to you by Buddy's Beard Care. Buddy's Beard Care provides premium men's grooming products at an affordable price. Products are made in Ohio, and Buddy's Beard Care supports local. The majority of our supplies are from other Ohio-based companies. You can find them on social media at Buddy's Beard Care or online at buddysbeardcare.com. Use the promo code BONO15 and he will save you 15%. I've been using these products for a little over 6 months now, and my beard has never felt healthier. It has never grown faster, and according to my wife, it has never felt softer. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by former guest of the show in Matt Landowski in Sweet Hands Sports. Elevate their game with Sweet Hands Sports. Our sports gloves are designed for champions, providing ultimate grip and durability. Achieve greatness with every match. Choose Sweet Hands Sports for the winning edge. Grip your victory at sweethandsports.com. Use the promo code BONO10 and he will save you 10%. He has sent me a complimentary pair of golf gloves. They are so comfortable, durable, and breathable. You won't find a better pair of gloves out there. Again, sweethandsports.com, promo code BONO10. Lastly, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Deemed Fit, a clothing company from first responders for first responders. These products are so comfortable. They look great. They have great messages on them. They are provided to support first responders, especially those who worked through COVID. All of the proceeds are going to helping veterans and first responders with their mental and physical health. This is a great cause. I support anything that has to do with our first responders and our veterans. Again, deemedfit.co, promo code Mike Bono will save you 20%. Now, let's start the show. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Ride Home Rants podcast. This is, as always, your host, Mike Bono. I got a great and another annual episode for us today. We are going to be talking about the World Series that is going to be airing today for when the show airs. But when we're recording it, it's a couple days away. So I got a panel of guests here to talk about everything that's going to be happening and making our predictions and everything like that for the World Series. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. And gentlemen, I need the answers to these two questions along with your name today. First question, when you're in a restroom in public, like work, a restaurant, a stadium, etc., do you prefer to have paper towels to dry your hands after washing them or an air hand dryer? And if you could be a family pet, which would you be, a rabbit or a goldfish? And TJ, we're going to start with you.
Are we doing TJ Lett. I'm glad to be back. If I'm in a restaurant in a public place, I'm preferring paper towels because I can go quicker. I'm trying to get in and get out of it, so I hit that a couple of times, wipe the hands, toss it, and go. So give me the paper towels over the hand dryer, where I have to sit there and actually kind of run my hands across it. Um, but yeah, if I wanted to be a pet, this is actually funny. In second grade, my neighbor had a goldfish, and this teach me how to feed it and stuff. I end up killing the goldfish. So I was playing with it and whatnot. And so I guess I'll be a rabbit. That's all I got.
Absolutely. After that, definitely be a rabbit on that one. But Tony, let's go to you next.
Hi, everyone. My name's Tony Bogan, and if I was in a public restroom, I like to use the paper towels, but I would not object to using the air dryers either. And as far as the pet, I would pick a rabbit. I pick a rabbit. I get to eat grass and just be in the fields all day and hopefully not get run over by some car.
Okay. And last but not least on the panel, we have everybody's favorite manager of the podcast, Fitty.
Hi, everybody. You know me, I'm Fitty. If I'm in a public restroom, I prefer paper towels, even though you have to use like a million of them to dry your hands because one just doesn't do it. And they're also like 3 inches big. And I'm like, well, how do you dry your hands with a 3-inch like paper towel? So I'm using 100 of them. I also like them because you can grab the door handle as well after, because that door handle is so gross from people just grabbing it when they don't wash or dry their hands. So I like it for that reason. And if I had to pick a family pet between a rabbit and a goldfish, I'm probably going to pick a rabbit because I'm in a cage. I'm secure. I don't have to worry about a car hitting me or like an animal that hunts rabbits. So I would like that. I feel like a goldfish is in a tiny bowl and it swims to nowhere. So you just are swimming to nowhere in your life. So I just feel like the rabbit would just have a better quality of life.
I got deep on that one for that answer to that one there, Fitty, with the goldfish swimming to nowhere. But to each their own. For me, I'm a paper towel guy. The blowers, I just don't feel like they dry your hands. Let's just call it what it is. I mean, I feel like I'm always wiping them on my pants or anything like that afterwards because I feel like they're still wet. And family pet, I'd have to go rabbit on this one. Just get the jump around. I mean, who doesn't like to do that? And I mean, unpopular opinion, being a former competitive swimmer, not being a goldfish. But yeah, I don't know. I like rabbits. I've been known to be a very hairy person as it is with the big beard and everything like that. So that's the only thing making this decision for me right now is that right there. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the World Series and everything going on with that, with the Dodgers taking on the Blue Jays this year. And TJ, what is your prediction with how this series will go with the Dodgers and the Blue Jays? Who is your winners and how many games?
Yeah, I'm gonna, ride the bandwagon here. I think it's gonna be Dodgers in 5. Um, it's just Toronto has expended so much energy just to get to this point where the Dodgers have not even had a road bump. I really believe that with the superpower that they are and the rest that they've had, the proper rest, they got all their guys. Their pitchers are healthy. I don't think this is going to be a very competitive series. So I'll say Dodgers in 5.
Okay. Biddy, what about you?
I'm actually going to agree with TJ on that. I'm going to say the Dodgers in 5. I do think the Blue Jays will sneak one at home. But I just think with the Dodgers rest, their depth, they're just playing really good. And I'm not a Dodgers fan. And anyone's listening to this annual show, I usually pick against the Dodgers. But I'm just going to say the Dodgers just are too good. And, Blue Jays are a nice Cinderella story. But the AL was also like weak. Like your traditional powers got weakened. I would say this year there wasn't no super front runner. The Central was super weak as well. So I don't know if the Dodgers were really like ever challenged by someone like the Blue Jays were ever challenged by someone like the Dodgers firepower. So I'm going to go with the Dodgers in 5.
Okay, Tony, round us out.
I will say this: the last time the Dodgers faced a favorite faced off against a Canadian adjacent team, they lost in 7 to when the Astros lost to the Nationals, formerly known as the Expos. And I am going to go the other way, pick the Blue Jays to win the series in 7. And here's why. Although the Dodgers are a great team, I will definitely put respect on them. Shohei Ohtani is a great two-way player. The Dodgers have had plenty of rest, and they really haven't gotten challenged at all. Toronto, you're playing in Toronto. Seattle took the first 2 games in Toronto, and guess what? They didn't win the series. I see Toronto taking at least 1 at home, possibly taking 1 in LA as well, if not 2, and finishing it off in their home stadium like they did in 1993. But do we see a Joe Carter moment, though?
Okay. I've been going back and forth on this one. Dodgers have the rest. They have the depth. They have the money and everything like that we've been talking about with the MLB and everything like that. I think Toronto, with what they've had to go through, yes, they've had a tougher road. They've battled more, but I think they're built to play those types of games, and they're built to go after it like they did with the Seattle series to get here. I got the Blue Jays taking this one. I think it goes 7 games, just like it did with Seattle, and they just wear down the Dodgers to take this series. That's my pick. I just from what I've seen out of Toronto, it's hard to bet against them, and it's hard for me to root for anybody coming from a Canadian team. But that's my pick here. Tony, to stay with you here, where does the Dodgers manager David Roberts rank in the MLB in the rankings of top managers, in your opinion?
I would have to say he's probably top 2, and he's not number 2. I'd say he's pretty solid because you've got a pitching core that is great. Their pitching core is incredible. I'm not going to talk down on that. They've got really good hitters. Having Shohei Ohtani back pitching after missing, not being able to pitch last year, we saw what he did last year hitting-wise, is a big help. And if the Dodgers win, it's a great send-off for a Dodger legend in Clayton Kershaw. 220 some odd major league victories, including a win in his final start at, you guessed it, Seattle. So there are some connections there. And another factoid that I found out, Jose Urena will be a World Series champion either way because he played for the Blue Jays, had a short stint with them. He had a short stint with the Dodgers. So either way, he gets a ring.
That's very true. Fitty, what about you on this question now?
Yeah, I was not a Dave Roberts fan, even though until they won last year. So if Terry Francona didn't come back into the MLB this year, I would say it's probably clear cut. Dave Roberts is probably number 1, but I still give the edge to Francona because he took 2 teams to the World Series, with Boston and the Guardians. So I still give him the nod because he also has now taken the Reds back to the playoffs this year, as we all knew in the NL. So I'd still say Francona is probably 1. Roberts is probably 2. Bruce Bochy getting fired, has also elevated Dave Roberts in that sense. But, you could make the argument too. Could Dave Roberts do what the guy from the Rays, Kevin Cash, has done with that team if he didn't have that type of money? So I always like to throw Cash in there as a top manager because he does the most with least. So I'd be curious to see if Roberts could do what he did with such a low payroll, because I'm pretty sure, though, most managers in the MLB could have the Dodgers playing at the level they're at with the talent around them. You got to always remember, too, when you're a coach or a manager, it's not always so much the X's and O's, as people has always said, right? It's always your Jimmys and Joes. And if you're just more talented than people, sometimes the best thing to do is just not screw it up. So I feel like Dave Roberts hasn't also screwed it up. So, but I would say he's probably top 3. I still give Francona that, and arguably you can make the him and Cash comparison based off the different standards they had. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I got Francona up there just because he's taken 2 different teams to the playoffs and deep runs and into the World Series with Boston and Cleveland. I got to say the only difference with mine is I got Roberts above Cash, just for the fact. I mean, yeah, they both done more with less, but I give the nod to Roberts now, given with the Dodgers roster and their payroll. Hell, I could go in there and manage that team and take them to a World Series. I mean, just like you said, don't screw it up. And I think he doesn't screw it up very well. So TJ, what about you?
I don't know what do you want in a manager, right? A guy that can lead your squad to the championships year in and year out. If payroll was the only thing, it'd be the Yankees would be there year in and year out. The Mets would be in the playoffs right now, and the Padres would be in the playoffs right now, and they aren't. So eventually, we have to give the nod to the person that is keeping his guys playing the way that they should, not the way that on paper they're supposed to. Um, he's done it year in and year out. We keep talking about the Dodgers and the excuses that we have about payroll, and it's very valid. But eventually, you have a manager that takes high paying players and all the ego that comes with it and tells them, this is the culture that we demand, and we are going to play this way. And I'm going to use you this way. Hey, can you imagine telling an ace, we are part of a 6-man rotation? And he's done that to 4 different aces. And they're all sitting there like, okay, as long we're going to go win a World Series this way. So his managerial style is the fact that, kind of like you said about don't screw it up, but he's gotten all of his guys to buy in, and the guys who haven't bought in, or the guys that are prolifically hurt, are gone. They say, okay, then don't play here. Go somewhere else and be hurt, or go somewhere else and complain. He takes the right great players and makes it into a great championship team year in and year out. So to me, right now, he's number one, and and he's got the paper trail to prove it.
Yeah, I mean it's a solid top 3 with managers in the MLB right now. I can't argue any one way. He's definitely up there. He does all the right things. But TJ, does this World Series matchup between a team from another country in the Blue Jays and a team on the West Coast, the Dodgers, hurt the MLB with interest in TV ratings and such? Do you think it does or doesn't? I mean, with the dynamic and just with people like us here on the East Coast.
A little, but not much, because it makes up for it with the fact that all of Canada is going to be watching. So now you add in that aspect of it to where you have a whole country invested into one team, and that'll take over the people in the United States who, I don't have the interest in the Dodgers. I haven't heard of any of these players on the Blue Jays. So I think it will balance itself out that way. Um, and everybody loves a good underdog story. So if by chance the Blue Jays make this series competitive, you're gonna have a lot of people rooting against the Dodgers, and you're gonna have a lot of people tuning in and say, I just want to see, I want to see Dodger fans cry. Like, those fans might tune in. So, but I just think the fact that it's a whole country is gonna balance it out.
Yeah, I'm one of those fans. That's part of the reasons why I'm rooting and I picked the Blue Jays, is just because I just want to see Dodgers fans cry just for what they've done. That's where I'm at in life right now. Like, but yeah. So then, Fitty, what about you?
I know we talked about this a couple years ago when the Rangers played the Diamondbacks with the different time zones and being down there. And I know we talked about a little bit last year's show with the Yankees going across the country to play the Dodgers. I don't know if necessarily TV ratings will be hurt, but what I do know is that when you're backtracking across the country from the East Coast to the West Coast, but you're playing these games in LA at a 8 a.m. or 8 p.m. pitch, but it's 5 p.m. there. I don't know if the ratings are going to get skewed over there or not, or the deliverance of the game, because you're going to have people still at work. And I don't know how fair it is for the people in that West Coast time zone. And then the people on the East Coast, you may watch it, you may not, but to TJ's point, you might have the whole country of Canada watching it, like how the Raptors were when they won their championship in basketball. But I just don't know from a time standpoint of the games, like, is it going to help or hurt the ratings, especially with people in the not 8 p.m. or 7 p.m. time zone, like at 5 p.m.? Because think about it like this. If they were putting a game on at 5 p.m., like here in the East Coast, what are most people doing? Coaching sports, covering games, getting home from work. You're not on the TV. You're most likely streaming it or listening to it.
Right.
I think that might balance into the problems on the West Coast time frame. But I think the ratings will probably be similar to maybe last year's. I don't think they'll be as low as the Diamondbacks and Rangers were a couple years ago.
True. All right, Tony, what about you?
I would say that 8 is that perfect sweet spot, because you started any later outside of Canada, you're going to lose that East Coast. You're going to be going to bed at 10, 11 o'clock, 12. Starting at any later than 8 o'clock is a no-go. And it shouldn't run in any weather because Toronto has a dome, so that helps. But I think there will be a lot more people watching, especially when Toronto's carrying a whole country on their backs. Just like 2019. You think anybody thought the Raptors were going to beat the Warriors? Hell no.
Right.
The Raptors went out and did it in Oakland, no less, in 6 games. So I think that it's going to be a higher rated World Series, especially if Toronto can make a run, and even Cleveland fans will have some interest in it because there are 4 former Guardians. There's Ernie Clement, Miles Straw, Shane Bieber, and I'm blanking on it.
Naylor.
Andres Jimenez.
Andres Jimenez.
Yeah, Naylor's on Seattle.
4 former Guardians.
Sorry, my bad.
So in a way, it'd be kind of a win for Cleveland.
It would be. Yeah.
Bieber got
we can go back
traded.
to the drawing board and add to the list of players that get better when they leave us.
And Bieber got traded at the deadline to Toronto. He started game 7.
It's just...
TJ, you're talking to a Pirates fan here. You want to talk about players leaving the team and getting better? Let's talk about that. Like, there's just everybody on the Yankees, the Dodgers, and the Red Sox came from Pittsburgh. Let's just talk about that.
He just grew up in Pittsburgh and then hit puberty and went somewhere else, huh?
Yeah. So me for this with the ratings on this game, though, I bounce back and forth on it. I don't think it'll hurt it, kind of like when it was Texas and the Diamondbacks playing. Mainly because, I'm such an old man and routine oriented. Like, you start the games later. I mean, 9:30, I'm laying in bed. I'm not gonna lie to you guys here. I'm an old man at this point. If I don't have any shows or anything like that, I'm getting ready for bed, mainly because I'm up at 5 a.m. every morning. So, that's where I'm at with that. And I know there's a lot of people like that, but I also know too, the West Coast time frame, you like Spitty said, you're starting at 5 p.m. Like, people are still at work. They're going to be riding home. They're probably be listening to it or streaming it somewhere. But I just don't. I think the TV ratings will take a minor fucking hit on this one, because I just don't think that the games. I know they've shortened it with the time clock and that, but baseball games can't go forever.
Sure.
Look at the one game that went 15 innings with extra innings. I mean, so you get into situations like
in the middle of the night. I was like,
right. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, you still have those instances where that can happen.
Right.
So,
and you got to think though too, because it's the World Series, there's going to be more commercial breaks, and they're going to be longer commercial breaks.
Yeah.
So this isn't your traditional non-pitch clock game that's 3 hours plus that. but you still got to consider that there's probably in real time, I'm going to say probably another 20 to 30 minutes of advertisements will be in there as well. Instead of there being a 2-minute commercial break and maybe like a 2:20 commercial break.
Right.
And you don't think 20 seconds adds up.
Oh,
They do that every commercial break though.
That
Then you are
adds up
probably pushing
real
this
quick.
game, you know, to 11 or 11:30. I think the other thing though, I want to throw out there, Mike, and to TJ and Tony, the one thing we also didn't talk about with like the advantage and the rest and all that is that the Blue Jays have to again though fly to the West Coast for the second series in a row.
Yeah.
So you
that's a good
are
point.
switching 3 time zones for a consecutive series that you just went 7 games for, going back and forth, right? Like you're flying back and forth. So really you're switching time zones like 6 different times. Now you have to do it again. And then the other thing is too, I don't know if people realize this, but every time one of those teams flies to Canada or the United States, they have to go through border security.
Yeah.
So that also does add on to your travel time. And it also adds into your logistics because, of course, like anybody going to a different country, whether you're on vacation or that, like you have to have your passports, you have to have your documentation, you have to have your work permits if you're not a U.S. citizen. Like you have to go through all of that. And also you're saying that to the Blue Jays again, like, hey, you have to do this. But then to the Dodgers, you have to do this. But again, the time zone thing, I think, is probably more worrisome for them, like flying back again and losing 3 hours every time they have to go to the West Coast.
Right.
Right.
And you've been doing it for 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good point.
Time zone is just that sucks for all the West Coast teams. I mean, having to lose those 3 hours going to the West Coast, and you know, then you add in customs into everything like that too as well. So,
I hate normal airports,
right?
let alone traveling the country.
Right? Yeah, I mean, flying normally sucks anymore.
Yeah.
And you add all that into there. But Tony, that's going to do this kind of brings us right into the next topic here, but it's the home field advantage in this game. Like, who has it? Does it matter? And you know, is it really a thing right now?
In a way, yes and no. Like as we saw in the Seattle-Toronto series, it was just so evenly matched. Like when Eugenio Suarez hit that huge homer in Game 5, that electrified the hell out of the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
But then you had Toronto when that series went back to Toronto. Obviously, when you're going to the 6th, Canadian crowds are very passionate, as we saw when the Raptors hosted the NBA Finals. Wonder if there will be any appearances from Drake at any point in the series.
Likes to show up when he knows there's cameras, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Fitty, what about you? You kind of touched on it there a little bit, but
yeah, I think that the advantage would be for Toronto to play at home because again, you're not switching the time zones. Now you're asking the Dodgers, who really haven't had to do the travel of the Blue Jays. Again, the kind of the Blue Jays are accustomed to going through customs, and then they're used to switching the time zone. They just did it, but to ask the Dodgers to do that, might be a little bit harder. And then the fact that the Blue Jays play in a dome, I think is an advantage because there's no weather, there's no wind, there's no potential rain or humidity or whatever there may be out in LA going on. I think that's advantage Toronto. And then also for the fact that you're playing for all of Canada as well, because they don't have football, and people in LA also are right in the middle of football season, and basketball season has started and hockey has started. So you have the Kings and in hockey and the Lakers and the Clippers, and you have the Rams and the Chargers, and then everybody else who they cheer for there, where Canada really only has, the Maple Leafs and the Raptors and the Blue Jays, but they're very passionate about that because really they're not known to be a country that produces high quality baseball or basketball outside of that 1 year. So they're really a hockey fan base, but I think they'll be galvanized by this and really bring the noise, kind of like Tony said. So I think home field is more important to the Blue Jays. I do think that crowd will be more raucous than what's going on in LA.
Gotcha. TJ, what about you?
Yeah, I really do think that the home field advantage will be a factor here, but I'll give it to LA. I think that they can quiet a crowd really quick, but if they don't, if that Toronto crowd gets behind their team and those guys score early, which they've scored early in pretty much every game that they've played so far, that crowd's going to make it, but it's going to make LA realize like, okay, we have to win, and they're going to get, real tight, and they're good at playing late. But I mean, that Toronto crowd is going to be something different. Even it was already loud in the ALCS. Now they got a World Series game, and they know how important it is, and they know they have to slay the dragon. That's going to be crazy. I just don't see, and maybe I'm sorry to all LA baseball fans. I don't think they really appreciate a World Series as much as they did maybe the previous handful of years. It's just, you just go too many times that you're like, you expect to be there and you expect to win instead of Toronto sitting there thinking like, this is the glory of all things sports. So I think that you do get all of those sports, the people that are, basketball fans, like, no, like, hey, it's time for us to get behind the Blue Jays for these 2 weeks, and then we'll go to basketball season, and then we'll go to hockey season. And so it's going to be, I think that home field advantage is really going to help them if they pull this out.
Imagine if
I-
they lost that last day and New York had that home field advantage.
Right.
Imagine how things
Yeah.
would have been, because
Mhm.
they technically tied.
Yeah. Yep. That's a good point.
Yeah, I think the Canadian fans and Toronto fans are built different in that they'll find a way to root for hockey,
Mhm.
the Raptors, and the Blue Jays all in the same day.
Yeah.
Like I
And they
feel
have
like
the
they'll
energy
do that.
for it.
They have that type of energy and that stigma to them, and they love their teams. Uh, More than anything, they get behind them, and it's going to be a rocking crowd there in Toronto, and that's definitely going to play a factor um, against the Dodgers. Because, like you said, the Dodgers quiet a crowd, but I don't think they're going to be able to quiet this Toronto crowd like they have been coming through this playoff run that they had. They're just Toronto fans are just built different. To that, I would give them the edge in the home field advantage. But guys, we talked about this last year with three people that were all three of you were on last year. Both you, TJ, Tony. We had Bill Stoy on last year and Fitty. We talked about the Yankees or the Dodgers being built to return in the 2025 year to the World Series. We see that the Dodgers did that. So, out of these two teams for 2026, Dodgers or the Blue Jays, who is built to return? TJ, let's start with you.
Oh boy. I'm gonna cheat. I'm saying both of them because I know the Dodgers are so, just when you think they can't add anybody else, they add somebody else. So Skeens is going there or New York. in the
Don't
next
you
couple
put
of
those
years.
evils out into the world. You don't say that thing. You don't say that on my show. Skeens is going to die in Pittsburgh. That's what, yeah.
Yeah, because his losing record. Yeah.
Don't care. Don't care.
It's amazing. You just don't even know what players are still available until the Dodgers go through the offseason. Like, I didn't even know that guy was just it's amazing. So they're gonna be right around NLCS for the next however long the deferred money goes. But here's the thing: Toronto picked up pieces this year. It was one of the first times Toronto really went out and said, "Let's go get players." Now they didn't spend the money like other teams might have spent, like big time money, but they went out and got pieces. They got Santander, they got Shane Bieber. They went out and made moves. And I think now they're going to get a taste of this World Series, and they're not a team to necessarily go out and start selling. And you forget Bo Bichette was hurt for the last bit of the year, and they were still doing well. So I think that they're gonna be as much of a gauntlet as the AL East is. One of them is good for the wild card, so they'll always have a chance to kind of bake their way through. So I'm gonna say both.
Okay. Fitty, what about you?
This is hard because the Dodgers can just keep spending, right, as well, and keep adding. But I'm going to say it's probably the Blue Jays. And the reason is, if anything was taught to us this year, was that like the AL is not as strong as the NL. And it's more wide open, right? Because if you look at like the NL, you got the big money Padres, the big money Mets. You would expect the Giants with Buster Posey and Vitello getting hired today to be a lot better. You expect more out of that. Francona's then back with, he's back now with the Reds coming off the playoff appearance. The Brewers are always really good. So you expect probably more out of the NL. I would say it's probably the Blue Jays because like the Yankees were disappointing, the Red Sox were disappointing, the Central is just, and I'm a Guardians fan, but it's just so bad. Like it's so bad that you're going to have 3 to 4 teams with a losing record every year, and somebody who wins 85 games and then gets smoked in the playoffs. Like it's not a real feasible league like the NL is, that they're just going to have these top heavy dominant teams. I just think it's more wide open. Maybe the Orioles will be better. Maybe, of course, the Rays will always compete. But I don't know if the Dodgers have I don't know if like the Tigers and the Guardians have the firepower to really knock out the Blue Jays next year. So I'm going to just say it's the Blue Jays just because of the AL just being a weaker league in baseball than the NL.
Gotcha. Tony, what about you?
I would have to go with the Dodgers, and I think it's because the AL is so weak and Cleveland's huge historic comeback notwithstanding, the AL is kind of weak, And take away that comeback, Tigers probably win division for like 88 games, and they probably don't do any better, in the playoffs. But I will say the Dodgers because they just have that cohesive unit. You still got Mookie Betts. You still got Shohei in his prime. You've got Yamamoto, the pitcher. I mean, yes, you're losing Clayton Kershaw, a legend, but at the end of it, he got hurt a lot at the end of his career. Like I say, he's still a legend, but the reality is he did get injured a lot. I think the Dodgers, as much as they could pick up a couple more pieces here and there. Like I could see them. I'm not saying major pieces.
It doesn't matter. How big the puzzle got to be?
I'm thinking maybe they go after a Justin Verlander, give him a proper swan song. I mean, since he pitched for the Giants, screw it. Maybe he goes on the Dodgers. They somehow win a ring. Verlander decides, you know what? I may be short of 300 wins, but I got another World Series title riding off in the sunset.
Yeah, it's just with the Dodgers' money, I'm prone to say that they are built to repeat year after year after year. But what the Blue Jays did this year and showing people that you can add pieces, doesn't have to be big pieces. You had the right pieces to your puzzle, and you can make it to a World Series. I like the way they did it. They didn't spend a ton of money. They found the right guys that built into that culture to want to play and want to compete for a championship.
Right.
I got to go Toronto on this one for that reason alone. Because the Dodgers, like everyone was saying, hell, a monkey could go in there and manage that team and they can make it to the World Series.
Yeah.
With all the talent and everything they have. And so, but I like what I think more teams are going to take the blueprint that Toronto did and try to implement that to make a deep run in these playoffs here. So here, Tony, when the playoffs first started, who was your World Series prediction?
I would say Seattle. Yes, Cleveland had an incredible historic run, but sometimes the hotter the streak, the faster the flame.
Yeah. Fitty, what about you?
I was thinking it was I mean, the Dodgers had a pretty good chance. I was really thinking it was honestly going to probably be a rematch of the Dodgers and Yankees. I just thought the Yankees could out hit everyone and score more than everyone, even if the pitching was, somewhat even subpar. So I thought it was going to be like the Yankees and Dodgers. I did. That was my prediction.
Gotcha. TJ, what about you?
Yeah, the Dodgers for sure. I've never really wavered off of them. Um, but the American League was so goofy because I would have said the Tigers, but they had such a catastrophic fall in September that I was like, they're done. They're not, and I can't believe they even made it through Cleveland. But that's when I said, okay, well, who's the next best team to sustain the playoff run? And it was the Mariners because the Yankees, as much as they have firepower, they're such a hit or miss team and they don't play fundamentally sound. If the right team caught them, they weren't going to be able to escape. So, and that's exactly what happened. So I would have said the Mariners. I would have said Mariners and Dodgers. I definitely wouldn't have said Toronto. That would have been my last one, honestly.
Yeah, I didn't have Toronto sniffing anything near the World Series when these playoffs first started. I really thought the Mariners were going to make the World Series. I mean, got the big thumper just raking the ball all over the yard. I mean, for what he was able to do as a catcher is just astronomical. So I had them, and I had the Dodgers too as well. It almost came true. I'll tell you, the Mariners made a hell of a run there late. I was rooting for them really to make it just for what they were able to do. But yeah, the Blue Jays weren't even on my radar. I thought they were going to get bounced in the first round. I got two more questions here that we can get through here into the show. And TJ, which city is this potential title more important to? Is it Los Angeles or is it Toronto, and why?
Oh, goodness. Um, the easy answer is Toronto. I don't think LA, the way last year ended, it didn't seem like it was like life or death for them to win the World Series last year. It didn't seem,
Yeah.
they knew the juggernaut that New York was, but it just didn't seem like, my goodness, like that was everything we always wanted. It was kind of, again, we expected to be there. We have a culture of excellence. We have a culture that says if we spend this money, we are going to win, and there's no other way about it. And there's something to be said about that because if they lose, it is catastrophic.
Right.
But if Toronto were to win this, Tony brought up since 1993. I mean, that's a long drought. And again, I just, you look at it, you call it Toronto, but it's Canada. It's literally Canada.
Yeah.
And I really believe that if they win, their adoration is going to be widespread. Not even just Canada, but all the other smaller markets, it just, for the rest of MLB, it really will feel like, wow, somebody took the Dodgers down in a way that they weren't supposed to. It's going to mean a lot for the MLB. So, I just think Toronto as a whole, the city, yeah, you're going to see that. You're going to see how a championship should be celebrated, and you're going to see how a league can be elevated through an underdog story coming to fruition.
Gotcha. Biddy, what about you?
I'm going to say it's Toronto too, because again, like you have the Maple Leafs and the Raptors, but the odds the Raptors really ever win a championship again are probably slim to none. The Maple Leafs live on their history, right? They're I mean, they're the most historic NHL franchise, but that they haven't been relevant in that sense in a long time. So I think it is for Toronto because you're playing for the country. Again, LA, you have two football teams, two basketball teams, you have a hockey team. You're the home of the stars, right? Like celebrities and music people. Like the Dodgers winning or losing is not bringing, I think, a huge like influx of money and interest to LA. I think Toronto's getting more money because number one, they're the biggest city in Canada. Like they're our version of New York City. But there's also more people will go there because probably not a lot of people have been there. They're like, oh, okay, Toronto sounds cool. And everybody always says it's like a nice city to visit anyways. I never really heard anybody go, wow, I want to go to Los Angeles and have vacation.
Yeah.
Like,
let's go sit in traffic.
So I think, although the traffic in Toronto is pretty crappy, believe me, but I think from like the overall I want to go there. I want to visit. This seems cool. I got the whole country behind me. This is the only thing we have. I think it's more meaningful for them because, again, in LA, they lose and it flips right to the Rams, right? Or the Chargers or hockey or what's Luka doing or what's going on with Kawhi or, hey, this new movie's being made. You know what I mean? Like they have so much more there that it doesn't matter if the Dodgers win the World Series or not for the city. It means everything to Toronto and the country of Canada.
Yeah, 1,000% on that one. Tony, round us out on this one.
I say it would mean a lot more to Toronto because the last time that the Blue Jays won a World Series, like I think all of us were alive. I think all of us were alive the last time the Jays won the series.
TJ wasn't, and I was
TJ
7.
wasn't. Yeah,
I was just a thought.
I was one. Okay, like 3/4 of us.
Yeah.
But honestly, it would mean more to Toronto because they're carrying a whole country on their backs, just like when the Raptors won their series against the Warriors. It's like that big underdog story against the super favorite, like Toronto beating Golden State, who people thought Golden State was just going to three-peat their way to a title, especially having Kevin Durant. It's just like these underdog stories come in, like 2017 before Houston cheated their way to their title. Houston beating LA. 2019,
strays everywhere.
A former Canadian team formerly known as the Expos. Don't tell anyone in Montreal I said that. The team formerly known as the Expos, the Nationals, beating Houston in 2019. And then you got this underdog story with the Blue Jays hopefully beating the Dodgers. So it would mean a lot to Canada because, Toronto is not, no disrespect to any of the other cities, but Toronto is the baseball team that represents, just like they did in the NBA. In hockey, you've got Montreal, you've got Edmonton, you've got Winnipeg, Vancouver. So if a team in Canada loses in the Stanley Cup, it's not that big of a deal. Or even in the CFL, though. I looked it up real quick. The Argos went 5-13 this year.
Yeah.
They lose, it's not that big of a deal. But them winning the World Series is a huge deal.
Yeah, it's no contest for me. It's Toronto. Just being a small market and being able to beat the juggernaut that is the Dodgers, and two, I don't think anyone in LA gives a shit about championships anymore. Like Fitty was saying, there's so much more going on there that this is just a blip on the radar. Mm-hmm. And they showed it last year. They beat the Yankees, and it was just like, oh, yay. Another ring. Hey, thank you for another ring and another banner in our stadium. That's, oh, yay. It's just, you're going to see the city of Toronto lose its ever-loving mind if they win a World Series. And I'm here for it. I want to see this happen.
I love it. I want it all.
I want to see it happen. I root for underdogs in every single event, no matter what. I'm a Pirates fan, for Christ's sake. Like, let's talk about rooting for the habitual underdog. It's them. But yeah, I want to see them do it just to see how long the party goes after they win the World Series. That's more my interest in that too as well. And lastly here, guys, kind of a little bit of a fun one to end it here. And which stadium would you personally rather sit in to watch this World Series game, LA or Toronto? Tony, let's start with you.
I say Toronto simply because you've got a hotel. Mm-hmm. So I could basically spend the night in a hotel room, wake up, watch the game outside, even though it's far. And you got steakhouse too. You got steakhouse as well. So there's more amenities per se. So I'd say Toronto.
Okay. Fitty, what about you?
Well, I've never been to LA. I've been to Toronto, and I stayed a couple blocks from the stadium when I was there for an event about a year and a half ago. So, I mean, like, Toronto was cool. Like, I think seeing a game there would be cool because, again, like, the luxury of, like, you could park and then walk to the game. With LA, I think it would be it would be cool if you could see celebrities there. I think that would just be a cool thing. Like, oh, hey, there's Matthew Stafford, or hey, there's like Ryan Gosling, or you know what I mean? Like there's some whoever big famous person there. But I think that if you're talking like game day atmosphere, I think Toronto would be cool because they'll probably shut the whole city down for the games. And I know I read on, I think it was ESPN today, that they've moved like the Raptors times of their games. They've moved the Maple Leafs times of their games to accommodate the Blue Jays game. So I think that the city atmosphere, the party, whatever the festivities part, would make it just even a better atmosphere inside the dome. So I would say Toronto.
Gotcha. TJ, what about you?
That tells you everything you need to know. Them moving start times of other sports to say, hey, and I bet you none of those other sports are complaining about it because they know
probably
as soon
asked
as the
for it.
cheap, yeah,
They
exactly.
probably asked for it.
Yep. And as soon as the championship comes to somebody in your city, there's more eyes on you. So if there's one that comes to baseball, there's gonna be more eyes on their basketball team. So it all. I mean, that tells you everything. I would rather go to Toronto. Number one, I think the crowd just this. I might be soft, but the people will be nicer. People will be more fun to be around. You know, I think that they would embrace baseball people and baseball fans and just want to have a great time watching a great sport versus like LA, like, oh man, you're getting a little close to me, man. It's like, oh, you type of dude that, rubs your hands on your pants when you're eating, huh? Like, I feel like I get that type of treatment in LA. I just, I don't do well around those types of people, man. But just inside a dome, it's got to be loud. People are going to be moving. That you're going to feel it, the tension of every pitch versus, you're not going to see people's like late. Watch game one. Watch how many empty seats are behind home plate when they start the game, because getting there is like, I'm telling you, it's going to be. I don't know. There's just a difference in these two franchises. So, I'll take my ride to Toronto. It's a lot shorter too. A lot shorter ride.
Yeah, Toronto for the dome aspect of it for me. One, you don't have to worry about, oh, is it going to rain? Am I going to be sitting in this? Do I need to bring the poncho? Do I need to bring this? Do I need to do that? You don't have to worry about that there. And just the feel that, like, you probably feel that stadium rocking in your chest when it gets going. And every sports fan wants to feel that when you're at a game. That's the one of the reasons we go to games, is to just have that experience there. And I think you're going to get a whole hell of a lot more of that in Toronto than you do at LA. And yeah, the star aspect of that, I didn't even think of that, is cool. Like, you just sit down and like, is that De Niro sitting here like next to me? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that'd be cool. But I'm not there to see celebrities. I'm there to watch a baseball game. And Toronto, you're going to get the true baseball feel there. So for me, yeah. It's a much quicker ride here from Ohio than it is to LA. So I am taking that all day, every day. And with that all being said, that is actually going to do it for our annual World Series show. Looking forward to see how our predictions come true with this panel of guests. Again, I want to thank TJ, Tony, and Fitty for being on here with me and getting to talk everything baseball and the World Series. And as always, if you enjoyed the show, be a friend, tell a friend. If you didn't, tell them anyways, because they might like it just because you didn't. That's going to do it for me, and I will see y'all next week.
The Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Dubby Energy. Energy drinks made for gamers, streamers, and podcasters alike. For gamers, streamers, and podcasters alike. Go to the link in the description where you can find the best energy drinks out there. Less caffeine than a cup of coffee. Also, no jitters and no crash afterwards. Use the promo code Mike Bono and get yourself 10% off. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by my favorite sponsor of the show, and that is Shankit Golf. Golf apparel made for the everyday golfer. We might not go out and shoot a 6 under par. We're probably going to shoot a 6 over par, but this is going to give us the gear that's going to help us rock it on and off of the course. Go to the link in the bio, use the promo code Mike Bono, and get yourself 10% off there as well.